Peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I want to do is I want to talk to my chosen ones about how you will have to face humiliation rituals, you will have to face smear campaign, you will have to deal with false allegations. All of these is a huge part of their playbook that they love to use. One of their favorite tactics that they love to sprinkle out there for you. Drizzle. Nah, let me stop. But yeah, these are like some of the lowest, most disgusting things that they enjoy doing. When I say they enjoy doing these smear campaigns, lying, making you have to face false allegations, you know what I mean? Just, you have to understand a mind state and where someone is receiving their information to put this kind of information out about someone. Unfortunately for them, they are not honest beings. They are not truthful beings. They are very deceptive and deceiving, and they are not trustworthy beings at all. And usually when you have to deal with these kind of beings, from my experience, most of them are pathological liars. They make up lies out their ass. Like when I say they just start pulling stuff out, it's like I'm ducking and dodging, playing dodgeball all over again. That's how weird it be. It's to the point to now where I don't like having certain vibrations around. I don't like being at certain places where I know certain energies will be lingering at. It's so bad to the point to where I've had to minimize female interactions because it's becoming it's too much to risk cracking open doors for a lot of these beings. It's too risky. It's way too risky. I've known people who had to face false allegations, who dealt with the smear campaign. I've had to face false allegations and deal with the smear campaign and the witchery and the sorcery, to the point to where I done had CPS called around, which all of that stuff got thrown out because I'm a great father. It wasn't anything they could prove because you have to talk to my daughter, which my daughter isn't a liar. So I've had to deal with things of that nature, smear campaign. I've had fake accounts messaging me through other people, fake phone numbers messaging me for other beings, just a whole bunch of intoxicating toxics. And I could laugh a little lightly now because I understand it, but when you actually out here in the mix and you have to deal with these beings, it's not as laughable at the time when you're in it and experiencing it. One, because you know that these beings are capable of anything disgusting. Two, you know that these beings are capable of anything disgusting. So anything that is like, oh, I wish that would never happen, or I hope that would never happen, these are the realms that these beings live in. When I say it's so bad to the point to where I just don't trust it, that vibration, beings who walk in that vibration. I had one being pull up to my house. They drove a whole hour and a half, popped up at my house, unannounced. I didn't respond to any engagements or anything like that, right? But the way this war has been ramping up, and as much, when you're a man out here, we'll get over to the women. Yeah, some of the witchy witches is always trying to give me a hard time when I be speaking about this stuff, but I just move around, because I'm not going to keep juking on how I communicate, because some witchy women just don't agree with what I be saying. It's a billion other channels you can go watch. If you feel they're more righteous, they'll give you more solid information, go do it, all right? Go do it, because I was just about to say something, I just started processing like all the witchery that I see down sometimes at the bottom. It's not much of it, but when I do catch it, it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. But I had this being pull up unannounced, unacknowledgeable, and society has programmed and shown women what they can get away with. I'm not talking to the divine femme. If you are a divine femme, this does not apply to you. You can just take this on as for your neighboring females that you know, but it does not apply to you, okay? Randomly popped up at the house unacknowledged, right? I don't have no Ring doorbell cameras. I don't believe in all that shit, you know what I mean? Because I feel like if I get to see who's coming up into my door, then the system gets access to when I am in and out of my house and who's at my door. So I'm not a believer in having those things like stamped all in my house and around my house. I do use my phone when I do need to record though. I just didn't happen to record this time because I was so thrown off. I was working, I was on the phone, and I was doing something else. I was like multitasking. Had like 3 things going on in my little workspace, just kind of doing my thing, doing my numbers, doing this over here on the phone, me and Brody going back and forth over some of these numbers, blah, 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 blah. Get this little soft knock at the door. I'm like, I didn't tell nobody to come over. Everybody don't know where I live at in the spot where I'm at right now, and I don't have random visitors pop up. I've been where I'm at now for just about almost a full year at this location, so it's like, and it wasn't a police knock. I knew it had to been a regular being because it was too soft. I'm like, who is it? They like, it's me. And I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, behind the door with that low of a whisper, damn near all females can sound the same. It's me. Like I didn't know who it's me was at the time. Then I had to process really fast, and I'm like, oh shit, it could be such and such. So my first instinct was to not go get the door, but they see my car parked right in front of my spot. My second instinct was to tell them to get the out of here. Why are you here? Don't ever pull up to my house like this. What is wrong with you? My third response, what I actually end up doing, because the way society is set up, you don't have to do anything to get charged or to get accused. I opened the door and I was just real easy about like, hey, what's up? Like, and I walked right back around to my seat where I was at. This is one of them beings who already have a history of like operating a certain kind of way. But I just kept processing to myself, and I don't really want to say what it is because they be watching here, and I know I don't want to give them no bullets or no ammunition, right? But these things be transpiring. I just want to say that as a man, you always have to keep yourself guarded and protected. You don't have to do anything to be accused. Even if you get found not guilty because you're not guilty, that's still a whole process that you have to go through. Fuck the celebrities that's going through this weird stuff with that. You got people in real lifetime who's going through these exact same situations. So what I had to end up doing was I had to future think and future process. And I put myself in a space of where, okay, I done been in a lot of uncomfortable situations. Nigga, you can manage this. I addressed the situation after I kind of got my thoughts together and was like, they kept apologizing, like, sorry for popping up. They're not really sorry. Anybody that says sorry is not sorry. They're usually, real apologies are felt. You'll know when somebody's really apologetic. A sorry is a blanket statement. You're not sorry you drove an hour and a half out the way without talking to me and popped up at my house knowing damn well I'm normally out the house working, but I happen to be inside that time. Crazy. I addressed it real lightly because when I looked at the being, at the eyes, I could read the energy and I could sense the other side in there. And I was like, I put it in the nicest words that I could possibly conjure up together, just kind of like, and this was after about 10 minutes of us in the living room. I was still working. That being was just sitting there because I was focused, so it broke my concentration. And I told him, like, don't ever do that again, you know what I mean? If I don't respond, if I haven't hit you back or something like that, don't ever just pull up here, okay? Like, I did it as nice as I possibly could. But the real side of me wanted to buck. I wanted to tell this motherfucker, get the fuck out my house. Don't be pulling up over here. It was other ways that I wanted to go about the situation. But because the way the system is programmed down here in Western society, and I know if I say the wrong thing, I know what the other team is willing to do. I know the lengths and depths and measures that they're willing to go to. Don't matter if I'm protected or not by creator and source. I know I am. That's why I was able to manage that being in that whole situation and then take care of it afterwards. But in the meantime, between time, I got my daughter up here. I got everything that I got going on up here. And I'm just like, damn, they put me in a really challenging position right now. Because the old me hadn't experienced some of the witchcraft that I did since I've been experiencing, like, since 2016, 2017 is when the witchery and sorcery in my life ramped up to a whole nother level. But that also was because my daughter was just being born in 2015 and I had just started doing music and producing 2015. Started doing the camera 2017. So each year I just kept leveling up, but I was leveling up so fast that it was so much witchery coming my way because I was moving faster than the ops was prepared for me to move. Long story short with that piece is I end up allowing the person to be at the spot. When they left the spot, I removed them from my medias. I didn't block the number, right? Only reason why I didn't block the number is when you are breaking ties with some of these witches, sometimes you don't always want them to be aware of what your next step is going to be. I didn't want her to know every step that I was making and doing, because I done had plenty of people do weird stuff. When I say weird witchery, I mean weird witchery. You wouldn't even, it's regular weird in Western society, but for me, it's just been too much running consecutively. So I made sure that I was able to balance the energy out throughout the day. Not throughout the day, throughout that time that they was there. And then when they left, I started removing myself from the medias and all these other things. If I hadn't processed things the way I did, I would have been sitting in a space looking at more false allegations. I would have been having to deal with somebody trying to possibly, see, in my world, I know that witches will probably come to your house. They'll probably like try to plant stuff in your house, whether it's cameras, items, you know, just, you may not even use drugs, right? But then they done planted some drugs in your house. Say y'all get into an argument and start beefing. Now they could just call the police like, yeah, I saw them. They had such and such in their house. You know that you don't have it, you don't use it, but then that's still a possibility. You know what I mean? So that's still something else that you have to worry about with the tactics that they use. You cannot ever put anything past them or over their head because they are willing to go to all lengths. So understanding that, man and female can do that tactic. The one that every man does not want to be a part of is Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. I've looked this way my whole life. I've never forced or tried to take anything. If anything, before I even conceived doing something like that, because it doesn't even process to me, because that's such a low vibrational thing to do. Even if I had a partner and we was about to engage and we got mad at each other, or she was just like, nah, I'd be like, all right, cool, shit, I'm gonna go over here. And I would go to another part of the room, or I would go do my own thing, or I would leave the house. It would be something else that transpired. But for me, the way these flowers is down and this grass, that's how females was in my life. So I never thought that I would have to take anything. But when you watch Law and Order, SVU, you know what men are capable of, and then you also know the probabilities that you could face even if you didn't do anything. And then you got celebrities who's also facing this thing. Then you got this whole Me Too movement going on. So it just puts a whole nother condensation on things for men. Women, you got to worry about men implanting stuff. You got to worry about men taking things from you physically, actually taking it. But when you haven't done anything and then you have to prepare yourself to possibly take on these kinds of consequences, hell no. That's why I tell men to be extra careful. You don't just allow anybody and everybody into your space. This being was already in the process of getting out the door, and I think they kind of already peeped the vibe, so they made an extra effort to try to do some witchery or sorcery. You know what I mean? And it's like, I chill a lot in my space, solo dolo. So even with somebody randomly popping up on me, you ain't gotta worry about me having like, oh, he got bitches, he got women at the house, he got females at the house. Nope. Because I don't trust a lot of them. It's not saying I don't trust, I know that's where that's gonna go. I don't trust a lot of them. Because most of them aren't moving with source. When they're moving with source, cool, you know. I'll put my heart out on the table right there for you because I know you're not gonna step on it or stab it. I don't have no problem doing that. That's what I'm supposed to do. I get that energy and that concept from source. This is why I operate the way I do. This is why I put so much of me out here to the universe. But to eliminate that process, that concept, you have to be a few moves ahead of them. If you don't know the dark side, it's gonna be hard for you to manage your energy. It's gonna be hard for you to come up with the right answers to the test. It's gonna be harder for you to figure out how to get around certain obstacles, you know. It's gonna be hard for you to figure out how to block. You know, that's something that I teach my daughter. She not out here fighting everybody. She don't fight people, period. But I have been teaching her since she was about 4 or 5, you know, how to hold your hands, where to keep your thumbs at, because this is always a thing for her, you know what I mean? How to block, and I teach her how to hold her feet so she could throw a couple punches for girls. I always tell her, you don't ever fight a man. You never fight a man, ever, 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 ever. It's what we got men out here for. It's what you got daddy for. She ain't got no siblings or anybody like that yet. That mean that I'm a being that's never lost hope. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people like, oh yeah, you talk about women like this. Yeah. It's like the statement saying, can't live with them, can't live without them. You know what I mean? So right now I'm just in a chapter in my journey where I move a lot more solo dolo. When things do spring up and pop up, it's kind of like, let's step back, it's kind of like these right here. When things pop up, you know, they come and go. They come and go. As soon as they pop up, you blow it away, it's gone with the wind. That's how fast they come and go. You know, the smear campaigns, usually all lies. Sometimes people have access to your information because you done share some stuff with them, and now they're calling themselves exposing you. You know what I mean? But most of the people that they call themselves exposing themselves to, they don't even care about that. So it's just usually just sharing lies and things about you around to other people to make people have a bad misconception of you. The person that I used to engage with before this went and took those tactics. They done made fake profiles. They done had old friends that don't even live in my state start messaging me and calling me and doing all kind of weird things. You know what I mean? My old co-host, male co-host, running around doing the same thing. So it's not just females that do it. It's both parties. This goes for both parties. This is a spiritual battle. I'm a man, so I usually speak from a man's perspective first. Then if you're a female, you implement the divine femme in between there instead. You know what I mean? But the smear campaign, all of these things, they feel as though it is going to diminish us, hurt and harm us in a certain way or a degree. And it doesn't have the same impact that they feel or that they believe that it's going to have, you know? So that's why we stand as solid as we do in the space that we in, and why we have to take on things the way we do. Because their tactics aren't going to stop anytime soon. This is just part of the process and part of this war and this battle out here. You know what I mean? Like, one thing about us over in this way, we don't mind putting ourselves out there or people saying things about us that's true, even if we don't want it to be true, you know, or want it out there. It gets annoying where they are coming up with lies to paint you in a certain way. It's like, just paint me the way you see me. I don't care if people don't like me for me. That's cool. I can live with that. That's like somebody not liking me for my height, somebody not liking me for my complexion. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, it is what it is. Don't deal with me. It's a million, a billion people out here in the world. You don't have to deal with me or engage with me. You know what I mean? But these are things that they focus on because they don't operate with source. They operate in a much darker light. The way they process things is always gonna be the opposite of how we process things. So when you are dealing with these beings, if you haven't experienced a lot of dark light, a lot of darkness, a lot of the not so godly vibes, you have to tap in and figure out how to learn these things. So that way you're aware and you can kind of implement these tactics. My daughter hasn't been in a million fights. She hasn't even been in one fight, but I box around, play with her real lightly. She's a little girl. You know, I ain't raising her like no boy, but I'm not able to protect her physically all the time, so I do need her to be able to defend herself. And we had a situation where one of the girls at her school was they always just used to, like, when they be playing, like, the girl was smaller than her too. She just always used to hit her and be like annoying, my daughter would say. But my daughter had never hit her because she felt bad. But then after I had my talk with her, because she know that she's strong, the next time that girl did that, my daughter pushed her so hard that she never had to worry about that little girl putting her hands on her again. She didn't have to hit her physically, you know, but she understood that, all right, daddy told me and showed me that this was okay when people are doing these kind of things. It's not no just walk away. You're not going to be able to walk away from everything. I know people like their feet and their legs and everything, and they want to walk away from everything, but I'm a warrior and she's being raised by a warrior, so she's automatically going to know some of these tactics, even though she's not going to be in that energy. These are things that we have to prepare ourselves for and be mindful of on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? When I was in a space and I used to be naive to the darker things that people do, I ain't gonna say it made life harder, but I used to live by it is what it is kind of mind state around that time, which kind of correlates to the way I walk my life now. It just was on a more simplistic vibration, meaning it is what it is. So crossing these paths, right? and knowing that people don't have the best intentions on their own life. Somebody who's pathologically lying, willing to start a smear campaign on you, you know what I mean? And someone who's creating false allegations and everything else that come into this space. You have to understand that they are not healthy beings. They are not godly beings, because truth and honesty is not flowing through them, and it's not pouring out of them. So I would never take that same approach. Once I pin you on that other playbook, I know that you're capable of anything demonic. Not saying that you know all the levels or they know all the levels, but you have to be aware of their playbook. You have to know these things. If you don't know these things, this is how some of us end up with a leg, a finger, an arm knocked off, chopped off, you know, and you don't get that back. You can go get a fake one, but you don't get that back. Now you learn how to live and cope and move and deal with life without that one leg, without that arm, without that finger. You know what I mean? It helps. And even if you lost yours, you got enough experience and knowledge to be able to share that with the next generation so they don't have to lose theirs. They don't have to lose theirs. They're going to be the next adults when we get old and we move on. The same way they used to say when we were young, oh, this is the next generation. You right. We fucked up out here. It's crazy. It is a cesspool out here. So y'all just got to be mindful of these things, you know. But I ain't want to run it up too long. I have been going at it for a little bit. Be mindful of these beings. Once they start indulging in that other playbook, you're going to have to deal and be aware of all of these tactics. When I played basketball, once I learned all the moves and I had to play defense on somebody, I was already aware of all the moves that they could possibly do because I had been practicing. You have to practice. The only way you could practice is by simulating the situation, meaning create scenarios in a safe space, you know, or like I do, because I got a hard head, I'm gonna go dive in the situation. I'm gonna go gain that actual experience, because for me, I couldn't learn how to ride a bike watching other people ride. I had to get on it and ride. I couldn't learn how to ride a skateboard without riding it, you know, watching it just, it didn't give me the same satisfaction or justification. And I didn't learn that your spirit, your vibration in the body has to be in sync. A lot of people don't even talk about that part, you know, but I'll save that for another subject, you know what I mean? But tapping everything down below. Peace and love to the kings and queens.